Mel,
Brandon,
good to see you.
good to see you.
Another special guest with us.
Another Finji.
Yes.
Finji acronym. Fucking new guy.
Okay. All right, so our channel is on late at night, I take it.
No, public.
No children allowed, of course.
Yeah. Well, children can come, but it's not advisable.
But that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is the kids.
Well, we got to educate them somehow.
So,
Learn the ways of the world.
special guest, Harrison. Harrison, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it is a special guest. I mean, somebody that would know all this stuff, this information we're thirsting for, because he is a teacher in China. Ooh, I know it.
Yep.
Like Wuhan?
Oh, up close to Wuhan.
I'm in the north, a little bit north of Wuhan, yeah, but not too far away.
But just so you guys understand, I mean, you did testing before you brought
Well,
him in, right?
they can't catch it over the airwaves, can they? Oh, we didn't check for that.
We're 6 feet away. The camera's all distorted.
The camera's 6 foot away, you're safe. The camera's 6 foot away. You guys are safe.
So how long you been back home from China?
Let's see, I got here December 30th.
Okay, so you've been
Yeah,
back
You
home.
guys got calendars.
So I left before any of this was known. Yeah.
You look like you're sweating a little bit. Do you have a fever?
No, I was working today. That's
Oh,
what
okay,
it
okay,
is.
good. Well, so we're covered. But no, we wanted to bring you on to kind of visit about our Governor Lauren Kelly of Kansas, state of Kansas, and not China, but kind of acting like a communist a little bit. But she went ahead and cut school for the whole rest of the school year, and I have 4 kids, 3 of which are in school. I think it was completely presumptive. Do I think she should have canceled school? Absolutely. 1 week at a time, maybe 2 weeks at a time, and play this thing out a little bit. But as a result of the coronavirus, she just said, cut it for the whole rest of the school year. Activities, proms, all the fun stuff. And I want your take on what you think's appropriate. Did she make the right call?
And did she have the authority to make this call?
Another
I
good
don't
point. I think she
understand.
did as
She
the
probably
governor.
does, yeah.
She probably does as the governor.
Well, they're fairly, well, she did, so I guess she does.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let's see. I wouldn't be the first governor to make this decision. I think it was a bit radical. I think there's a lot of fear in our society about if you're different than everyone else and then there's a problem, you're going to get sued. So I think they all tend to jump on board. So, but I wouldn't be the first one, if I was a governor, the first governor in America to cancel schools. No, I would wait, kind of wait it out, see how it goes. Now, she might be right as far as timing, because what I know, this has been going on in China seriously since about, third week of January. I've been talking to my students every day since this all happened. So here we are, middle of March, past the middle of March. It's been going on for about 2 months in China, and it has just kind of peaked. It's not getting worse, but it's not getting better. So her timing is probably about right, because we're not going to get rid of this anytime real soon. We're looking at probably 6 weeks before it really, I would say, we could even hope to get rid of it, subside.
And be back to normal?
And be back to normal, and that would be kind of an optimistic guess. But from what I'm seeing in China, they've been isolated. They're not going to school. They haven't been going to school since January. So it's going to take us a while to get rid of it. I don't think it's a serious problem. I agree with you guys. It's kind of a joke, really. But it's not going to go away overnight. So my guess is, even if she didn't cancel school for the rest of the year, I think the virus would be continuing that long anyway.
So from an education standpoint and interacting with these children in China that you've been, and how old are these age group of children you're teaching in China?
They're not really children.
Okay.
I'm teaching at a university.
Okay, at a university. So how are they affected? You know, are they still being able to get the curriculum they need? What's going on with that?
Yeah, no, it's a joke. It's not working very well. The internet, for one thing, doesn't work well in China. Technology.
Or in rural Kansas.
Yeah, we're in rural Kansas, and sometimes we have problems too. but they have problems every day there. So technology is not good in China. They're trying to do even their PE classes online. I saw one girl sent me a video of her PE class. The teacher can tune into each student individually and see if they're doing the exercises. So they're doing these calisthenics and stuff. So the network doesn't work well. The teachers have never taught online before, so they're unprepared. The students have never studied online before. They're not prepared. It really ends up being a lot of homework is what it is. So the students are doing a lot of busy work, a lot of homework, and everybody's kind of feeling their way around because they don't have experience with it. So.
What about like the effects for, and I'm obviously more concerned with grade school, elementary, junior high, high school age kids than I am college kids, because I don't know why other kids go to college, but I went to have a good time, and then I took it serious years later. But my initial stint was just it was going to be a party, and it was. But so, what kind of unintended consequences might come out of this for students here in Kansas or other states across the country that, as far as grade school level, middle school, high school age kids, elementary,
Well, just my guess, I think we're kind of in the same situation China is, where we haven't done this before. It's kind of untested. It will be kind of somewhat homeschooling. The parents have to be responsible to make sure that their kids are doing the work. So I don't know, but I think it's probably not going to be as useful as a normal school year. The same as in China.
When did China react to this? I mean, they discovered it in...
They declared it on the day that I arrived in Arc City. December 30th was the day they declared that there was a virus. Before that, it was just in the city of Wuhan, and it was small, I guess, or they were trying to keep it secret. But you have to understand Chinese culture. Chinese culture, they don't like to talk about bad things. They don't like to admit problems.
So they started in what month did you say?
December 30th, they declared the virus in existence. They declared that it was real. Before that, I think they tried to keep it hush-hush. And I know that we get our politicians talking about it, but having been there for 12 years, I really understand Chinese thinking. They don't want to discuss problems. If they can quiet it down and deal with it themselves in a quiet way, they want to do that. They really care about what the world thinks about China. They are very image-conscious people. And so I think they realized December 30th, this thing's getting too big to control.
Well, it wasn't until January, late January, they actually reported it. According to their own...
Maybe they reported it at different levels, but December 30th was the first time that China recognized officially...
Internally.
Maybe internally, that
so when did they actually start taking action?
They took action in January. I would guess about the third week. And that's when my students told me they couldn't go outside. You had to wear a mask. It was a law. You couldn't go outside without a mask.
So they had all through January, then all into February. So,
all through February.
So by the own graphs of infection rates, they peaked at February 12th, and it's been going down continuously since then.
Okay.
So their initial reaction had very little effect on it, apparently, or they controlled it. I'm not sure exactly how to read this.
What are you hearing? I mean, are you losing any students?
No, nobody's died.
Has anybody got it?
But they're young and healthy, This thing attacks more people that are weak.
That's true.
None of the students I know have it. But, they were restricted to stay in their homes. It was the law. They could not leave their homes. I mean, they could get food and then they had to return. They could not go to the park. They could not go out for any leisure activities. They had to wear a mask. whenever they went out of the house. These are laws.
Do you feel in your own mind? Do you feel that is that what did that curb it, or did it run its course by itself?
I think it ran its course by itself. I think it's hard for Americans to imagine the population of China.
We can't imagine.
You can't, and when I got there, it was flabbergasting.
The proximity, the density.
How people are close together, how people are crisscross, everybody's going every direction all the time. Stores, restaurants, everything is open till late at night. They open early in the morning. So there's constant activity in China.
How many billion people are in China?
I heard 1.4, but then recently I've been hearing from our politicians on TV 1.5 billion.
1.4, 1.5.
It's probably in there somewhere, yeah.
So just in Cali County, and I looked these up the other day because I was absolutely flabbergasted. My wife was plumb pissed off. How did Governor Laura Kelly come up with the idea to shut down schools for the whole rest of the year? And when you look at Kansas as a whole, we hadn't had a ton of exposure so far. We've been relatively lucky or limited in our exposure to this virus. And if you reflect back on Kansas City, Johnson County area, where it is mostly densely populated, those are the areas that are so far have been the high hit items, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, you look at Cali County, there's only 32, 33 people per square mile. That's our density ratio here in Cali County. And you go to Kansas City, and it's closer to 600 people per square mile. You go to New York City, it's 65,000 people per square mile, and China's probably even worse than New York City. I've never been to either place, so but I have been to Italy, and I can tell you firsthand, it is just exactly as you described. People on top of each other, and you always got a hold of your pocket knife on one side and your wallet on the other because you feel like you're going to get ripped off. And
yeah, I was in a city of 7 million people, and that was really a smaller city. So yeah, there's just people everywhere.
so I'm not sure that taking you have far more experience and real life stories to share than I do, but I feel like we way overreacted. Should have took it on a week by week basis, 2 weeks at a time. I don't care, but
I can see both sides. I can see both sides of it. If there's a problem, everybody's going to be pointing at her. So I think politicians make decisions based on how it affects them more than how it affects the public. And so I think she's probably worried about herself getting in trouble if she doesn't make it.
If she didn't do nothing.
Right. So she's looking at it better to overreact to protect myself than to underreact and have everybody pointing the fingers at her.
Chances are 1 in 1.4 million to get the coronavirus in China.
Yeah. And my students knew that. They knew it. There was probably no threat of them actually getting it.
So when we base things off of that, this overreaction is often, just as you said about Laura Kelly, being driven to that because she doesn't want to be held accountable for something that's, to me, appears fairly bizarre and fairly benign, but nobody wants to be held accountable. No one's saying the accusing finger pointing at us, so everybody grossly overreacts.
I haven't done the odds, but you're probably more statistically likely to die as an unborn child in a low poverty income area in South St. Louis or Chicago, Illinois.
Well, you're more likely to die at the hands of Planned Parenthood by far than this.
Yeah.
I mean, by far. You're more likely to get struck to die from a lightning strike than you are this. That's how far. I don't make light of the thought that it's there. Pandemic only because it's across the world, but epidemic is not necessarily the case. Pandemic, yes, but not really epidemic. This isn't like the Black Plague.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not like some of the horrible things that had, like tuberculosis, for instance. It doesn't have the far-reaching or Ebola even, or the Zika virus. It's not nearly as devastating as any of those. Those were in some ways a little bit more localized, as not nearly as pandemic, but they were more catastrophic.
Harris, final words. You've got a lot of viewers watch our show. What kind of advice would you give them to protect themselves and their family here in Kansas? I'm not talking China, and I'm talking locally, real Kansas. What kind of advice do you give us?
Well, I guess I have to I communicate with my students daily, so I've learned a lot from them, and they realize the chances of them getting it is real small, but they don't want to get it. They're very health conscious people, the Chinese are, and so they do what they have to do. They know that there's a lot of people in tight areas, so they wear the mask. They try to keep contact with other people to a minimum, and go out the minimum amount just to be safe. In Kansas, do we need to do that same thing? I don't think so. As long as we're reasonably careful, and I guess Trump says, keep it in groups of 10 or smaller. I don't see any reason to wear a mask. I don't see any reason to run to the supermarket and buy all the Kleenex, toilet paper, water that you can. I think those things are just terribly selfish. Just be reasonably careful, get enough rest, eat good food, and probably have no problem.
In China being the epicenter of this, do they have these runs on the banks or run to the grocery stores? Do they have that?
They had the same thing. But in China, the government controlled everything.
But not like here.
Well, they didn't have the trouble because the government set down all these rules right off the bat, and in China you don't disobey the government or you regret it.
Well, I wonder if that's the same thing here. What is the difference between here and China other than the language barrier? Because as far as I can tell,
There's a lot.
like what? Flags different color?
We got a lot more freedom.
Well, we do until push comes to shove, then all of a sudden we don't have any freedom. All of a sudden they demand that these schools for 9 weeks. Under what premise do they have that
Well, we
authority?
don't live in fear. Those people live in fear.
Well, maybe we do, maybe we don't. I keep...
Ask Roger Stone about the government.
yeah. Or ask...
We got to go.
Well, okay. Can you say goodnight in Mandarin?
Okay.
Cameron.
All right.
Ding hao.
晚安，再见。